Hey YouTube, crazy weekend of RLCS went down for our first open between Europe, APAC, and South America. And in today's video, I'm going to be doing my best to recap all three in kind of a simplistic way. We're going to spend a majority of the time on the European region. We're hanging out with chat over at twitch.tv/Lawler. Come hang out with us. Every single Tuesday, we'll be doing these live and our best to give you guys kind of a general idea of what is to expect throughout the RLCS season. Tuesday is going to be recap day. Wednesday is going to be talking about the other region that's playing in their qualifier stage, getting into top 16, what the matches are, the seeding, all that kind of stuff. And then we got predictions for you guys Thursday. We'll sprinkle in some different things if there's some good concepts. If Farah puts out a big post on Twitter, maybe we'll talk about that. A little bit of spoilers there. But with that said, a couple things to update you guys on. Number one, in the description down below, there is a link to my roster document, and I have started to update things based upon the starting teams, the kind of the top 16, top 20 that you really need to pay attention to. If you guys have not seen me do this before, I have got the teams on the left-hand side, and it showcases, hey, this is what they were previously on. This was their previous team. This is what their team is in Major 1, what their team is in Major 2, what their team is for the World Championship, and then on the other side is a objective leaderboard ranking. This is taking their exact result. How did they perform in that event, averaging it out, and then we'll do placement rankings based upon your only result-based performance. I don't care about what we think, how we feel. If you guys didn't see us do this last year, it was actually pretty accurate. The example I just gave to my chat was like, hey man, we knew Space Station was getting dicked in the quarterfinals every time by Gen G and G2. They just could not beat them and make it into top 4. But we knew that they were objectively better than OG and Luminosity and M80 and some of the other ones. This kind of shows that their consistency and their results proved that. So we're going to continue to do that this year. A lot of people liked it last year. With that in mind, let's jump into the recap and start discussing what is going down. If you guys don't know, top 16 in Europe was completed, done and dusted. We had 2 days of fun competition. Unfortunately, Fridays, while yes, there is no RLCS broadcast, we do have team streams on Fridays, which I think is very advantageous for the organizations. Downfall, though, is there was no in-game esports button. There was no drops. Viewership was abysmal, if I'm being completely candid with you guys. I think it was like 18 to 22K. Rocket Baguette had more of a viewership than the main broadcast for the esport. It's not a good look. There was also a bunch of third-party organizations that were handling the official broadcast instead of like Rocket League APAC channel, which has 200K followers. And some things was really, really rough. Also, shout out to Decorrect, the statistician. The downfall of Friday is he has to rely on these team streams to save the replays and send them out, when normally you can just go to the very bottom of a Wikipedia page where it has the replay files and they're all uploaded. Doesn't seem to be the case as much. Pretty frustrating. So, with that in mind, our top 16, K-Corp, NIP, Gentlemaids, Dignitas, GK, RRG, Synergy, Vitality, 100% Redemption, Save the Game, Caliente, Startpoint, Novo, so last, I can't say their name, Ascent. That is our top 16. We had some pretty big surprises, but I would like to say as an overarching statement, I think things went pretty much as expected. I was not too surprised by the results of things, and I even tweeted that out. I'm like, it is good to see that the expectations, the teams that are supposed to be towards the top, are at the top. In comparison to that as well, there is still that depth, that level of competition that we come to expect from Europe, where there is some surprises trickled in. For the most part, things went as expected. I don't think any of these results should be like, oh my god, I can't believe. Some things remain true, like a certain buddy's curse. And again, upset city. Some people showing not on the day when it matters most. Looking at you, Redemption. Some things remain constant. With that said, going into the double elimination. If you guys are not familiar on the format, quick recap. Week 1 is double elimination, coming down to top 32. Once we get into top 32, they then play in a 16-team Swiss in 2 different groups. That's why we have our 16 to 32 teams. So Group A had these 8 teams move on, which you guys can barely see. I apologize. They then joined Group B's top 8 as well. That is how we got our group stage bracket, which we saw on Saturday. And these are the results as follows. I'm going to really zoom in on these so you guys can see them a little bit better. In Group A, we saw the following. Number 1, K-Corp going perfect. Many people and all of the players had their like team rankings of who they thought was going to perform the best. Everybody says K-Corp is the number 1 power ranked, and they live up to that expectation, going absolutely perfect. The only one that gave them a fight was ironically 100%. And as you can see, we'll want to pay attention to them moving forward. Pay attention to 100% name. Don't forget it. They had a close game 5 against Synergy at the beginning, which was pretty competitive. But I think anytime you look at first round games in top 16, they're bound to be competitive and a little bit loose. I even said that in my predictions last week. Hey, K-Corp, they're probably going to drop a game to this team you probably have never heard of, because they're going to start a little bit slow. When competition is on the line, a little bit nervy, these things have a lot of weight, because it's not just the prizing and the points for RLCS to go to the majors. It is also guaranteed bids in qualifier or open 2 and open 3, where you get to avoid all of the double elimination nonsense that you see in this tab, which is the top 1,000, 1,500 going down to the top 192, going down to the top 32. They get to skip all of it. They just straight up go, hey, we're in Swiss. We don't have to think about that anymore. We don't have to worry about the big bad boogeyman that is We're good. We have guaranteed spot top 8. So top 8 is everything for these guys. So getting into one of these 4 spots is very important. If you do it through the upper bracket, you get an automatic bye. You're guaranteed top 6. If you go to the lower bracket, you're starting with no life. You cannot lose from here on out. So with that in mind, things went according to plan for me, I would have to say. Based upon the results, the only one that I was selfishly rooting for was Save the Game, because I wanted the old heads with Astral and Extra to prove them. Not the case. The biggest upset through this entire bracket, and in my opinion, the only upset in my perspective, is GK, the former Oxygen team with Joyo, Archie, and Oli, losing to 100%. 100% definitely deserves some credit. They popped off. They controlled their opportunities. Played very close games against some high-level teams. I do not take lightly 100% going to 5 and winning against GK and going to 5 against K-Corp. That series was much closer than I think people expect, but KC in the end does turn on the heat and showcases that they are the most threatening on offense. They suffocate. They deny your boost takes. They are dominant when they get going. So that is what the results are. You had Gentlemates come through, I think, with a relatively decent bracket. I'm still not wholeheartedly convinced on Mates. If I had to rank them right now, I'd probably put them tied in the like 4-5 area with Dignitas, depending on how they're playing. But I do have more faith in Mates right now, just regards to the historical play. I was always concerned about why they chose Juicy and Redosin instead of sticking with Itachi and building that way. Seiko knows ball. I'm going to choose to believe in him. They did it for a reason. We then go to Group B and more of the same. Ninjas in Pajamas. We got a banger of a series right out of the gate between them and Vitality, the former world champs and the current world champs. That team, I think, is going to be very disgusting in the future, but still some kinks to iron out, I would say. The same thing, I think, really applies to NIP. As you guys know, I'm very keen on NIP. I think Itachi got the better end of the deal. I think that team is absolutely stacked. With that in mind, there's definitely some growing pains. Nas still needs to find his form. There's definitely some communication issues. If they don't have boost, like if you want to beat NIP, take their boost and you'll win every time. They are very reliant on it. And they, even though Itachi is known for being a player who can operate on like no boost at all, still not enough. So efficiency is going to have to be the name of the game between Oski and Nas. They're using a little too much. And when they got denied, they looked basically irrelevant on the field. So pretty cool stuff. It was a good series. On the other side of things, we had a lot of high expectations for Dignitas. Glad to see them getting re-signed over in the European region. We did see Jack and Yoris back together on a team on their former org. Pretty crazy to see historically. Stizzy, though, is my player to pay attention to. I told you guys the 2 players. Nas this season, I think, is going to take a big level up, and Stizzy needs to take a big level up. Unfortunately, Stizzy whiffed a lot on defense, just calling it like it is. Made a lot of mechanical mistakes. There was a lot of plays where he just made problems happen for his team, where it's like, I'm trying to rely on you as this mechanical young kid, and the pressure is getting to you. What it is specifically, I had an off day, I don't know, but Dignitas definitely caused some issues. I think they personally had one of the easiest runs into the top 6 compared to any teams that we've seen recently. No discredit to Novo, the full Italian team. Going to 5 there, not a good look from Dignitas. Going to 5 against RRG, also not a good look based upon the caliber of talent and the expectation we have on Dignitas. They need to be getting these games 3-1, 3-0. It is surprising to see them go as closely as they do in both of these. Like 2-0, this is not a convincing win. That's scary for Dignitas. Again, growing pains as well with the new team. Expectations that were heightened. I will say Yoris and Jack did play extremely well. I'm very confident in those two. I think Yoris has been putting in the work. I got to see it firsthand on Super Ole. Guy's playing well. He's using his solo mechanics on offense, as we've seen him dominate that ones leaderboard at times. Very patient, which is awesome to see as well. On the other side, NIP, we figured they were going to drop low. This is what I predicted as well, as them losing to Vitality and then winning out. And they did so. Congrats to RRG on beating some of the new teams. Redemption, though, that's the big problem here. Cash and the guys very disappointed, going 0-6 and not winning a single game and being eliminated. That then brings us into the playoffs. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with the hybrid bracket, if you are the top seeds, so one of these guys or one of these guys, we say you're guaranteed top 6 because you get to skip out on these matches. This is your 7th and 8th place losses, which means you're automatically guaranteed top 6 if you get in here. So again, winning through the upper bracket is massive. It gives you an extra life as well, because if you lose, you then drop down and you get an extra chance against what is the weakest, best performing team in the low seeds. It is, again, a system and a format that heavily emphasizes giving the best performing teams weight and advantages throughout the entire tournament to make sure the best teams are moving forward, which I think is absolutely fantastic. The difficulty, though, is if you get upset, it massively changes your seeding and your potential moving forward. The nice thing is all of these teams are guaranteed top 32 next open event. They will be automatically in the Swiss stage. They don't have to go through open qualifiers. So congratulations to all of them. It's absolutely sick. K-Corp looks like the team to beat. They looked absolutely dominant in that game versus Dignitas. It was good to see Dignitas put up a little bit of a fight. They had 3 one-goal games to start out with an OT. I even told my stream on talking with people behind the scenes, I was just like, if they don't win this game, it's over. It is too much an uphill battle. They just looked finished. They looked defeated. They looked exhausted, which is the KC playstyle. It feels like no matter what chance you get punched in the mouth again. They're threatening for that reason. They shut them out in both of them. Timeout does nothing. It closes out. On the other side, we did get a little bit of Gibbs casting this weekend. I still don't know how I feel about it. It feels weird, but not a bad weird. It's just different. We did get Gibbs casting in the booth at one point or another. Vitality and Mates. I didn't have any questions on this one. I assumed Vitality was going to win it. I still think Vitality talent alone is probably the best team on the pitch compared to anyone in the world. But stylistically, can they find a way to bust it out? Vitality versus Mates, I think it was heavily favored in Vitality, and they showcase exactly why. While Mates' challenge game and stuff is great, Vitality just overwhelms you. I look at Monkey Moon and Zen being on the same team, and I go, that's unfair. And like Exotic being your least talked about, even though he's a world champ MVP, pretty damn good team. On the low side, 100% does continue to win. I do think 100% is better than RRG, so no surprises there. NIP over GK, also no surprises. This is when I got to see what could be between these two teams. I think both these teams are going to be trying to battle for a consistent top 4. I would like to believe more in NIP, as you guys have heard me talk about a lot, and kind of glazing them. But it still came down to the wire. 2 OTs, very close game. GK, you got to find a way to win one of those. Easier said than done. Always had an answer on NIP. When their offense gets going, it is just relentless. Very fun to watch. On the other side, we got 100% in Dignitas going to game 7, 3 OTs, a lot of 1-goal games. This series was a banger. It was also beyond sloppy. We're going to chalk it up to the first open event of the year. Little nervy, just trying to make sure that they solidify themselves. A lot of pressure. But unfortunately for yours, the quarterfinal curse continues, and they cannot make it through. It's tough, man. I do like this Dignitas team. I think they've got a lot of potential, but man, Stizzy had a rough week. I'm just going to put it out there. Stizzy did not look like Stizzy. Needs to perform better, needs to live up to that pressure. It was unfortunate. There was a lot of mistakes. The one that everybody kind of points out to is he was on his rotation back solo and he flipped into it and hit the side of the ball. Luckily on his recovery, he did hold power slide, but then he's landing backwards with no momentum, and it's just a free goal. There was some big mistakes. I assume those things will get cleaned up moving forward. But congratulations to 100%. Changing the narrative a little bit, controlling the things you can, making it into top 4. W for them. Awesome to see. My match and my series of the tournament was going to be Mates versus NIP, because I do think this is a battle for number 3 in the region, and it is NIP like I believed, so that felt very good. I do think NIP is the better team. I do think Itachi got the better end of the deal. With that in mind, 7 all the way to the distance, 2 OTs, a lot of 1-goal games, and by a lot, I mean all of them but the first game. It was crazy. True back and forth. Mates continues to be that team, and I think the narrative somehow, despite being a new roster, stays the same. For whatever reason, Mates to me is not that team that I think is going to do great online. I think they will find a way to potentially go to majors, but on land, this team is one you need to fear. I don't know what it is about their playstyles, but they just turn it on when it matters most. Mates is a scary team, I think, when we get to majors. If they make it there, watch out. They're a team I definitely don't want to play because I know what Juicy and Seiko can do on land. So, very interesting to see. Glad to see they put up a fight, a better fight. I expected this to be like a 4-2, 4-1 for NIP. Glad to see it wasn't. This was a very entertaining series. And then the next ones are pretty straightforward. While NIP, I think, is very good, and I really much so enjoy their play style, K-Corp is at a different level, and that got showcased here. They really punished. I talked about the boost consumption being a problem. K-Corp suffocated the ever-living heck out of NIP. And as for Vitality, I mean, 100% hit some pretty cool goals. They had some pretty sick redirects. They kept it competitive. But I don't think any of us had any belief in 100% winning against Vitality. That's more credit to Vitality than it is disrespect to 100%. And then in the grand finals, K-Corp really made a statement here. You're talking the former world champs, current world champs. 2 OTs. But the 2 wins you had, 3-0, 4-0, to shut out Zen, Monkey Moon, and Exotic. That's crazy. In any circumstance, to keep them scoreless, a team with that caliber of talent, nothing but respect. My only concern is this would not be the first time K-Corp has done this. K-Corp's got to keep the foot on the gas. I understand it's a long season. Make sure you pace yourself. Make sure you play intelligently. Make sure you keep doing what you're doing. Put in the time, the effort, the work. Do not get complacent because we don't need a repeat of last year. KC, your number 1 team. Everybody's saying they're the number 1 team. Everybody in the pros voting the number 1 team based upon scrim results. And they really showcased it here. So KC, when they're playing their game, they look unbeatable. I expect Vitality to make some adjustments and bounce back. I expect Dignitas to get better and make less mistakes. I expect NIP to slowly improve and work on their adjustments. Who's going to be taken behind that? I can't wait to find out. But I think there's a clear top 5 between K-Corp, Vitality, NIP, Dignitas, and Mates. What order you want to talk about, we'll have to wait and see. It's still very early in the season. Now, with that in mind, that is EU. That is the results. Like I mentioned, these guys are all top 8. That's solidified. But shifting gears a little bit, first and foremost, we did have South America go down, and we got a banger grand final. A lot of people curious, is anybody going to take a candle and light a candle to Furia? Furia has been that team. They've been absolutely dominant. Secret goes perfect. They did drop a couple games to another team by Yonko, who, if you guys don't know, I think Yukio's on that team. No, what am I thinking of? What team is Yukio on? Is he on Shaman? He's on Shaman. That's right. So Yonko, Davitrox, Pan, and Klaus, you should know those names from the FIFA E World Cup. We got to see a little bit of that. But this team secret roster, Mota, KV1, and Swift. Bro, Swift, world class. Played out of his mind. If you have not seen this series, go back and watch it. To see someone push Furia to this test has been a while. If you guys can't tell real quick off first glance, every single game but one goal games, down to the wire, super competitive. Great first event from South America. Very excited to see the representation come out of Sam. It's not over yet. Last but not least, we then do have the APAC region, and we got a bunch of imports running the leaderboard. 3 Rats is obviously LCT, and those boys still trying to look for an organization. Luminosity was the team that made a split-second decision on imports with Sosa and everything else like that. So Luminosity switching over and going there very cheaply. And then as for Elevate, if you guys are not familiar, also a little bit of import as well with Though, Ocelon, and Maxu. Maxu being the only local. And then for Luminosity, Sphinx. He's the young gun. He's very, very talented. Pay attention to him. He's very, very good. Expect to see these two battle to see Who is better? Is it Sphinx? Is it Maxu? If I'm a bet man, I'm on Sphinx. The young kid has got the ice. He's so good. That is what we've got for our 3 regions that competed for titles in our opens this weekend. If you guys do have any additional questions, comments, concerns, let me know in the comments down below. In tomorrow's video, we'll be talking North America, who made top 16, why NRG is playing potentially the way that they are, the fact that they're playing Gen G in the first round. Crazy stuff. We're also going to be talking about the seeding because for some reason, Epic always takes way too long to put out who's playing who in those early matches. Either way, that's going to do it for today's video. Like, comment, subscribe. Helps me out immensely. Let me know what you guys think about the initial matches down below. We'll see you then. Peace.